Hello Jason, it's Thursday, February 6th, and I'm going to start off by responding to your Oscar prediction. It's definitely a safe bet to go with Gravity for Best Visual Effects. After all, like you said, the majority of people are saying that it's likely to win anyway. But I've never been one for safe bets, as you may be able to tell from some of the moves I've made in our chess match. And so I'm going to go for an option that a lot of people are considering an underdog in this category, Star Trek Into Darkness. Now, there are a number of reasons why I'd choose Star Trek over Gravity, the first of which is that Star Trek essentially does everything that Gravity does, and then some. What I mean by that is essentially that Gravity has one special effect that it uses through the entire film, the lack of gravity. And Star Trek has that effect as well, but it also has a number of other effects in the movie. As well, the point that my friend Jackson brought up in a comment on your last video that the majority of the background in Gravity is CG doesn't really stand up when you have a movie like Star Trek Into Darkness, where not only the background but a lot of the foreground is CG as well. In fact, one of my biggest problems with Gravity is that it's essentially one step away from being a completely animated movie in the first place. The only really interesting effect in the movie, the actors floating around, can be done easily with harnesses and rotating the camera. The rest is just what we've come to expect as generic computer-generated imaging. As well, I've gone for Star Trek over Gravity because generally speaking, the Academy likes to award 1 or 2 Oscars to movies that are considered popular or fun. And usually these Oscars are in categories like Best Visual Effects or Best Original Score. So there you have my choice for Best Visual Effects and my reasoning for it. In the interest of moving our selections forward though, I'm also going to reveal my pick for Best Film Editing. Now, it took me a really long time to consider all of the options for this award. And in doing so, I employed a process of elimination. The first film that I eliminated was Captain Phillips because when I was watching it, I noticed a few sloppy editing mistakes. For example, if you get the opportunity to watch the movie again soon, pay attention to the road signs in the scene where Captain Phillips is driving. From cut to cut, they don't seem to move very much, and that to me indicates lazy editing. The second movie I eliminated was Gravity, just because there wasn't a whole lot of film editing going on. Like we've already discussed, the vast majority of the film is done with computer-generated imaging, so the necessity of editing isn't as great as other films. I then really strongly considered choosing Dallas Buyers Club as my winner for this category. Now, the great thing about Dallas Buyers Club is that at a few key points in the film it uses editing in order to add gravitas to what's happening. And indeed, I wouldn't be surprised at all if the movie won the Oscar for this category. But with that in mind, I've decided to go with American Hustle for the winner for this category. The main reason that I chose American Hustle over Dallas Buyers Club was because the editing in the film is a lot more playful and a lot more imaginative. This makes the film come alive a bit more than Dallas Buyers Club did with its editing. I was also partially swayed by the fact that one of the editors who was nominated for American Hustle is named Crispin Struthers. And you just don't get names like that anymore. So I say we award this man not only for his name but for his efforts in editing. Next, you asked me to explain my reasoning for the accusation I made a couple of videos ago, and I will, in a moment.
Zut alors, oulala, et voilà mon passeport. I am the Inspector Poirot. You can tell, because I have the mustache.
Okay, so I'm not going to do the accent the whole time, but I do have the mustache, so that's pretty cool. But let's get down to the evidence. Exhibit A, this face. Now, this is what originally raised my suspicions, coupled with the fact that you wouldn't tell us why you had one of your best Fridays in a while. And so naturally, my first thought was to look into the rest of the things you said for indications of what might have made you so happy. In particular, the fact that you appear relatively composed at first, but break into a smile as you mention the fact that you had one of your best Fridays ever, makes me suspicious that you're thinking of whatever is making you happy, and hiding it poorly. Exhibit B, the term Best Friday. Now, there's one major reason why this is suspicious, and it's the word best. It makes it suspicious because if you were hanging out with friends, for example, you would have said fun. It was your most fun Friday in a while. But you didn't say fun, you said best. The great thing about the word best is that it's vague enough that it could apply to just about anything. But the opposite effect of that is that the use of the word best implies to me that you're using it in order to cover up something that otherwise would have been easily deducible. Thus, there are slightly fewer possibilities for what you could mean by it. Exhibit number 3, the red herring, aka the French toast. When you learned to make French toast, I noticed something odd about the pictures you cared to share. There were 3 plates. Now, I will admit there's a fundamental assumption with this, and that's that you ate French toast in the morning because it is a morning meal. So assuming that that's correct, there are 2 distinct possibilities for why there were 3 plates. Firstly, you, Jason, are in a polyamorous relationship. I personally don't find this possibility quite as likely as the second one, which is 2, that you actually made breakfast for yourself, your roommate, and your roommate's overnight guest. And so to me, this would only count as evidence towards you having a lady friend if it were a polyamorous relationship, which I don't believe it is. Now, I haven't had time to go back through all of your videos to look for more clues, but that's what I've gathered up so far. And to be honest, I didn't actually anticipate that I'd uncover anything, so I'm assuming this is all just an exercise in investigating. And so with that, I conclude this part of my investigation. And so that leaves me again with only one more thing to discuss: chess. I feel as though from this point forward there's going to be a lot of death for a lot of my players, but that's kind of been my plan. Not that I've been trying to lose, but rather that I know that sacrificing some of my own pieces is necessary to gain access to some of your pieces. And this move will only really be effective depending on how you make your next move. Queen from h4 to g3.